Hello everyone. I'm going to give you an example of a process that we went through. A big customer, it's a big car manufacturer, and what they initially considered when they were looking into a solution that connect cloud-based application with their existing in-house system, and how mobile comes into this picture as well. We should have a QA in the end, so if you bear with me, and I'll give you a chance to ask some questions. This customer, what they initially started talking about was this scenario. They were looking for a completely cloud-based solution to integrate their CRM with their SAP. So that was their initial requirement. We only want cloud-based, everything needs to run on the cloud, and that's it. No consideration of anything to install on our network. Because they were talking about SAP, they wanted something that would be certified by SAP and also certified by Salesforce, which was their cloud CRM. And the normal things that any customer you probably would consider as well, which is fast implementation, low complexity, and relatively within their budget cost. Then when they looked around, they noticed something that they will have to consider. The first thing is that SAP was sitting somewhere in their network behind very tight security and completely isolated. So how they are going to connect that cloud-based into their SAP? One of the solutions will be to create or to expose SAP into that cloud-based service. To do that, they would need to create some sort of installation, local installation, or some sort of wrapping of services that securely would go to SAP, get their information they need to update or extract, and then expose that to the cloud CRM or the cloud integration to pick it up. And this was a no-go for them. They said, no, that will require a lot of investment or a lot of IT involvement, and how do we make that securely enough? So they noticed that they would have to install something on their network anyway. They will have to go do some installation, local installation, and then expose that as a service to the cloud and integrate with the CRM. They established that they would need to measure this in practice. So they said, okay, let's imagine this scenario, and let's invite some vendors and give them 5 days to implement this and see who can do it in 5 days and how far they can do it in 5 days. So this is the situation. SAP or a legacy system, a cloud system coming in, and you need to make them talk and understand each other and keep the information in sync. So what do you do? The idea here is a mixed scenario, a mixed or proposed solution where you will integrate and split some of the work in the cloud, some of the work locally, and then make that work. In the end, in our case, obviously I'm going to use this example because it was very successful for ourselves. We did that demonstration in 3 days, and they were quite happy with the solution proposed. I'm going to explore that solution a little bit, but the next stage is some of that information, some of the interaction now. Imagine I have whatever SAP is managing the production and the CRM talking to the customers and their branches. But they want also to move into, expose some of that into BlackBerries and have some sort of interaction on a mobile application. That's, again, bring the same idea. I have some BlackBerries. I need to make that integrate and interact with SAP, with Salesforce, in a way that makes sense to my customer, to their users. How do I mash that up? So if you imagine in your case, do you have legacy applications? Do you have SAP? Do you have JDE? Do you have your own bespoke systems? How are you planning to integrate that when you bring cloud? And when anyone at the company, at many levels, bring their own tablets and say, okay, we want some information, we want to interact with our application through those devices. Okay, you all have that scenario in mind? Yes, good. So this is part of kind of a dilemma. If you have a legacy system and you look forward and you see, okay, how do I now move to the cloud? I'm assuming here you are completely sold on the cloud, and you might have one of those systems. I'll just put some examples there, SAP, JDE, being very, very common. And those systems normally are sitting in some sort of hardware or specific platforms or operating systems that you're not too sure, because you might have one type of systems today, but what's the cloud bringing in terms of complexity for you? Hopefully, we'll hide that behind the cloud solution. The first idea is that you remove your legacy system, buy a new system, completely, let's say, cloud-based, move everything in there, and happily carry on. Obviously, that implies quite a lot of risk, probably a huge cost in doing that straight movement. Replace one system into another. The other idea is that you bring a new application or system that will complement what the business is demanding at the moment. So for that case I just mentioned, the motivation was SAP was great. It functions. It has all the investment on it. But there are some parts of it that needed to be developed. The business need new complementary systems on the financial side and the CRM side. So how do we simply extend the life of that investment in a legacy system, could be any of those, and make use of the cloud? So it's the hybrid solution. It's connect those systems, include whatever new system you have, cloud-based, and then make them work nicely together. The other part of this scenario that normally is very common is that you're not only talking about big applications. You might have also small applications or back office applications or reporting or small spreadsheets that the users are using that you like to make them play nicely together in this scenario. And just to add one more complexity, we talk in mobile. Yes, everyone's talking mobile. This has been the biggest push lately, and we need to enable some interaction on those devices. If you imagine this situation, you have all these applications, you have all these databases, you have all these platforms, you need the mobile, and you bring in cloud into the picture. How do you access all those application platforms technology? What does that mean for your IT department? When you bring another application, when you bring another platform, how do you make them play together? Imagine on your situation today, someone or your CIO or your board asks you to enable an interaction through their tablets. They love iPads, I don't know. Yes? How many layers that implies for you to attend that business? Or your warehouse is completely new in terms of availability of connection, and you like to replace old scanners or mobile devices with, I don't know, iPods or iPhones. How do you make that happen? What does it imply in terms of cost, complexity, and technology for you? So what we've done is create, during all our life is, in terms of the company and the technology, is specialized in specific technologies for multiple platforms, multiple database, multiple applications. So we created connectors for various applications that are specialized on those applications, or for various technologies or platforms or database. So if you think of one connector as a mini program, something that will connect to an underlying technology and expose data, expose events, expose business rules. If you could magically, let's say, point those connectors to any technology, in this case, let's say SAP. I point to SAP, I see all the data that SAP understands, all the rules that SAP requires. If I point to Salesforce, I see the same thing, without considering where is it running, which database is sitting, which layer of network it's implied, if it's on-premise or on the cloud, it doesn't matter. What I want to do is point to an application, see what data is in it, and from the business point of view, how do I make use of that data? How do I make use of that rule and then make it talk to another application? So one connector, another connector. Now I have a source and a destination, or multiple sources and multiple destinations. And what I would want to see is, independent of what is sitting behind, what is the data that I can then make them talk, make them keep in sync. So this is what we are proposing and offering in terms of any application, technology, etc. So we do that wrapping, we do that encapsulation, and that allows your IT, your programmers to quickly connect any application or technology and generate result very, very quickly without programming. In this example, we have SAP and Salesforce. To get data from one side to another, I simply click here and drop it there, or vice versa. And that's create a connection. That's the program, that will execute. By dropping those components in a certain specific order, I can define a business rule, when that should happen, and after, let's say, getting data from a database and send it to Salesforce, if I want to send an email, I can drop an email component and send that email. If I want to generate a file, update another database, I can drop that component and then generate it as well. If you look at each of those steps, these you could consider a bit technically like a service. So if at any point any of those service have a problem, crashed, not available, the tool will automatically recover and start reprocessing that from that point or up to that point, just like a normal transaction. And you can, once you create that nice design, visually map it, you can put that to run in multiple platforms. So it doesn't matter if it's going to run on Windows or Linux or AS400. It's the same source that will run on all those platforms without any changes, and supporting a multitude of databases. So if you later on has a new database coming in or a cloud-based information that you want to connect again and then remap it, you simply use the appropriate connector and you see the data again and then manipulate that and map those. Just as my customer in that example required, we are certified for all those partners and those products, and this has been a very important consideration, how you're going to do an integration and recognize that you are backed up by those products and companies behind it. So in summary, I don't know how I'm doing for time. I just wanted to remember this, how to access those multi-platforms and applications and visually be able to connect and interact between them and make it available, make it work for any platform, any database, any location. I didn't mention much of the location, but location has always been playing on all these scenarios as well. Most of these cases, and especially on that case, we're talking about multiple countries, multiple locations, and all that is hidden behind those rules nicely. Behind the technology, just to mention the company, because you probably never heard of us. Is that right? Who heard of Magic before? Oh, some of you. 4. Yes. Because mainly we work through partners and ISVs. They create their own product and they deploy those products with their own label. We don't appear. But if you use, let's say, Sky, if you have Sky at home and you select your program there, that system that runs that program scheduler, it's our technology. If you take the tube and see all the adverts, that's CBS. Our product is behind that as well. So we don't appear, but we're there. And we are in 50 countries and in NASDAQ as well. So if you have multiple locations, you can have the support that you need locally on the local language as well. This is just a quick sample of customers. We have a full list on our site. And BI, as I mentioned, the customers are moving to, the biggest novelty at the moment is mobile and BI. I don't know how much of BI are you doing, business intelligence, at what level. At least reporting seems to be the first initial push, but then you have predictive analysis and other more sophistication in BI. Who is already doing BI at the moment? Yes, so still minority, but we're probably looking into that. And the first interest in doing BI is because most of the BIs offer a very competitive solution for your current reporting needs. So you can start doing BI by simply saving money, replacing your BI, reporting solution, and then get the benefits of predictive analysis, for example. I would do a demo connecting SAP to Salesforce and make you all capable of go back to your company and says, okay, I can connect any system to any system in 5 minutes, yeah, and show your IT, if you're not from IT, how to do it. But it's not going to be very practical for me to load down here. I couldn't make it work here. So can I invite you to come to our booth and have a look on how to do it? And I also will train you if you want, so you can show your IT how easy it is to integrate any system, regardless if it's sitting on your premise or on cloud. I'm joking here, but it's very, very easy, and you can see that live. So you can see that is what if a scenario that you might have in your company that you think, wow, that's going to take months to make it happen. What would that mean if I could use one technology like this one? Yes? Okay, thank you very much. And if you have any question, I'll be pleased to answer it. Yes? Thank you.
I wanted to go back to the beginning actually and say that because you started off with the base of saying that there'd been a decision that this company would go through cloud.
Yes.
From the very beginning. That's when you were kind of brought in at that stage.
Correct.
So did they run through why they decided that they wanted it to be delivered by cloud rather than traditionally?
Yes, the solution they wanted that must be, at the beginning, they're saying it must be cloud-based only, is the integration part and the support to mobilize and then do all the other deployment they need. So the initial evaluation was, if it's cloud-based, we don't need to install anything on our network. Yeah, was the point of management, contentious point of management. The problem is you don't want cloud isolated from your existing system. The whole point was to actually connect to those systems. So you need to come down to your network in a secure way and the easiest way. And sometimes installing something on the network that makes that bridge safely, securely, is the best way to do it.
So do you know who in the company made those decisions? Was it through IT, or was it through finance director? Was it, what kind of level?
In this case, it was IT. Yes, in that specific case. I have a very similar one where it was the CFO. Yeah, it was the main decision. Sure. Yes, absolutely. This type of tool allows a bit more flexibility, because if you go to SAP and say, oh, I need a program in SAP, I need a consultant, probably external, then they program and that becomes a black box, right? With this, you've got more flexibility in who can maintain and how to do it. But we play nicely with SAP programs as well.
Okay, so they wanted to go cloud.
Yes.
So they wanted this tool in the middle to handle the interface.
Yes.
So did they not then want to outsource the management of that interface? And did you take responsibility for that?
In case they were doing themselves, but it could be, we could manage that. That's one option. And we could have a partner managing that as well. That's also very common. If we're talking SAP, Salesforce, and a few other ecosystems, usually a partner is managing that, because they combine the tool knowledge with the specific knowledge of the application and the business knowledge that you need. Yeah, but you have these three options. You can manage yourself. We can manage Magic Software, or a partner can manage. It's up to you what suits you better. Yes?
So your intellectual property is the connector, isn't it?
Yes.
The interfaces between the...
What you license is the connector, yes. Yes. You might be sub-licensing depending on what is the connector is happening. Or if you, I'm considering your enterprises that you would look at this for your own use. But if you are actually a provider of a service, or you have your own applications, you can also create your own connector using our tool. So you could create your own connector. Let's say you sell currently a product that competes with Salesforce. So you could create your own connector, and we would include that on the other hand as well.
The fact that you put up the business intelligence as one of your delivery.
Yes.
Is that the part of the connector, that you can connect to anything, talk to anything, print data all the time?
Yes, exactly. In that case, because BI is a completely separate product that will run on multiple devices, it's more a user level of solution. Yes, but it's the same. Behind it is going to be the same map and graphic that you saw. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Are you just providing connectors for off-the-shelf products or bespoke applications as well?
Normally, we just do the technology. So if you need to develop an application, let's say you want to create, we have many partners. It's the ISV scenario I mentioned. So if you want to create your own application, either for internal use or to resell it, then a partner will work, or we will train you and you do it yourself, or through your IT, whichever way suits you. Any more questions? Sure.
I didn't get an answer to that.
No, sorry. Yes.
If we have an obscure system,
Yes.
obscure operating system,
Yes.
obscure database and everything, obviously you cannot connect to
Not really, no. No, I'll show you. Where those connectors, it took me a while to go back, but those connectors, they are also generic connectors. So let's say you have your obscure application. It's a very specific application for, let's say, research. Was written in C++ and talks to some specific machines and is there. One of those connectors would talk to that program, and you can use that. It might be the case that you think, oh, we better rewrite this, or we want to rewrite for other reasons, but we have the generic connectors. We connect to generic languages or generic services, etc. Yeah? So I can go back there, but it's better. So you see, for example, here, you have a .NET service or even a COM service or Java. So if it's a language that we don't know, then you have an SDK that you just create the connection with that specific language.
When you completed that proof of concept in 3 to 5 days,
Yes.
did you base any of your work on previous experience?
In
You
what
started
sense?
from scratch,
Yes.
integrating SAP and Salesforce.
Uh-huh.
What did you do? Did you start from scratch, proving the concept, or you had that on the
From scratch. From scratch. That's what I said. I can show you on the stand there. I'll show you an empty one and build it as you see it. But in this example, normally we need the experts of other applications with us. So we needed the SAP expert, the person in the company that knows all the SAP implementation, the Salesforce implementator on the company, and our expert in our tool. So they say, oh yeah, I know the scenario, I point the component, I see all this data, where do you want it? Oh, I wanted this. And then they say, oh, but this needs to obey rules, or the API is already showing some rules here, so we need to discuss that. But that's the point.
What about the spatial data?
Spatial data. Yes, well, it depends on what level. If you want to bring it in or if you're generating it, there is some, I'm not an expert to comment so much, but we have a technical guy on our stand. But we have probably, if I'm guessing, that you're talking about some specific databases that do MAPI.
Geographic mapping.
Okay, geographic mapping. Yes, I think we have a demo with geographic mapping. That's not too complex. I thought you were talking more like about cloud cubes and things like that. That it tends to be very interesting in the way of looking at it. Yeah.
Beyond geographic mapping.
Okay. Yeah. So if you have a very technical, I'm not sure. Maybe we could discuss a little bit with the technical guy that's in our stand. Yeah. Sorry, that was beyond my. Any other question? Yes. Sure. Yes.
What makes the APIs that Salesforce provides, what makes your API better than Salesforce?
Okay, yeah, very good question. It doesn't. So I can exaggerate saying that that woke me up. So if you look at this Salesforce component, what is the difference? Just rephrasing your question if I understood the question. What's the difference between this Salesforce component and the generic components? Yes? It's more or less this question. So why do I need a Salesforce component if Salesforce already offering me an API? Yeah. You could use the generic components. The difference is how many steps you need to take and how long it's going to take. If you use the generic component, you need to point the component to the web service, or let's say, to the API, and then you need to understand which API to use. If you use the Salesforce component, it filters. It provides you with a wizard saying, these are the services that you can see, this is the data. So you get there faster with less steps. But you have the two options. You're right. Yeah. Any other question? Okay, thank you very much. Hopefully you come and visit us. Okay, thank you.